Hello, welcome to another episode of Why Should Executives Care? Technology Driving Business Outcomes. I'm Chuck Zwicker. I'm the president of Weidenhammer, and we appreciate you tuning in today on a topic that is probably a little bit more technical, but has major implications for your business and for business leaders, and that is the topic of Microsoft Secure Score. I'm joined here today with our very own Don Douglas. Don is our senior cloud security architect, and he's a Microsoft security expert. Don, welcome. Thanks for joining the show here with us.
Thanks, Chuck. Great to be here.
All right, so I'm going to dive right in here. Let's start with kind of a rapid fire question just to cue us up for today's episode. Give me your perspective of what the current state of the security landscape is today for middle market businesses. What do executives need to know as it relates to today's world, today's industry?
Great question. It's not very friendly on the threat landscape side of things. We often hear about like the big breaches on the news. We hear about the big names that get hit, and we start to think, well, they're going after the big companies. But the reality is they get a couple of those big hits per year, but the day in and day out for the bad actors is in the SMB and mid-market space. That's where they're making the most of their money. Right now, if you took all of the bad actors of the cybercrime industry and you made it an economy, it's the third largest economy in the world, right behind the U.S. and China.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is SMB, small to medium-sized businesses here, or middle market businesses, are becoming larger targets because they're, in some respects, kind of easier to crack into. They're not as heavily invested in cybersecurity, and the bad actors are going after them with a vengeance now that we haven't seen before.
Exactly. Yeah, the wall's not as high, so they make their bones there. That's where they're making their money, and now you're looking at mid-market businesses that are up against an adversary that's got a budget of trillions, right? So they're adopting technology and AI and things like that at an incredibly rapid pace, and mid-markets, left to try to keep up with them. From a business perspective, you've got to be perfect. You've got to block every single attack. From an attack perspective, they got to be successful one time.
Yeah, they only have to get in once, right? So transition a little bit to Microsoft. Obviously, this is a space that Microsoft has and is investing pretty heavily into, correct?
Yes. A lot of people don't realize it, but Microsoft's actually the largest security vendor on earth. Nobody's really bigger than them in terms of the data that they see, because they're looking at across the business landscape with M365, they're looking at Active Directory logins, they're looking at down to your kids' Xbox logins, right? They're seeing a massive amount of data, and they're able to take that data and turn it into actionable security products. So they've got a huge line card of that built right into their stack.
Interesting. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's drill down into this. What really is Microsoft Secure Score, and kind of where does it live in the Microsoft ecosystem, kind of in the Microsoft tech stack?
Yeah, it's built right into the Microsoft 365 platform, and as well as the Azure platform. And it's looking at your environment across a number of pillars, from identity to data to applications and devices. And it's giving you a posture score. It functions like a lightweight cloud security posture management, or CSPM, tool that helps you to quickly assess how your environment is configured to match up to security best practices.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is it's not preventing security breaches, right? It's just kind of offsetting your risk or giving you a better understanding of what your security posture is.
Yeah, it works like a credit score for your security posture, right? It's giving you like a numerical value. This is what you look like from a security perspective, and it gives you the ability to track that over time, so you can see how you're trending. It gives you the ability to look at that against peers of similar size, so that you can kind of understand where you're at in the security hierarchy.
So people may have heard of Microsoft Defender. Where does this tie into Defender?
You can view your secure score from within the Defender console, and it leverages a lot of what it's able to see through the Defender stack. to be able to give you that score. So if you've deployed Defender for Endpoint, if you've got Defender for Office 365, it's able to see how that's configured, the data that that's able to see, and help to map that against how you should be configured from a best practices standpoint.
Okay. All right. I feel like Microsoft's kind of almost gamified this a little bit. I mean, when I look at our secure score and our dashboard, I see kind of our score. I see how we rank against other companies. So I kind of, feel like, I need to be competitive against my peers and my competitors. It feels like it gives me recommendations of what we should be doing to kind of harden our infrastructure here. Is that the right way to look at it?
Yeah, it does. And it actually ranks them for you to help you figure out where should I be focused, right? It helps you look at it across different domains like identity or devices, but then it also boils it right down to where are you going to get the most gain for your, effort, right? And you can see by the change that it's recommending how much that would change your secure score. So where are you getting the most bang for your buck, essentially?
Okay. All right. So let me come back to that from a business standpoint in a second. Drill down a little bit, kind of walk us through how Secure Score actually works.
If it would make sense, picture's worth 1,000 words here. I can actually take you in and show
Oh,
you
sure.
a
Okay. You share
demo
your
of
screen
Secure
and
Score. And yep, and let me bring this up here. Where?
so you're actually going to share with us and take us into what a Secure Score dashboard would look like.
Yeah, except it shared the wrong screen. We're gonna have to edit this piece out. Let me close that.
All right, so I'm going to come back to some of the business benefits in a second, but let's drill down a little bit here. Kind of, I don't know how you would do it, Don. Can you walk us through how Secure Score actually works here?
Sure. Yeah, I can actually bring up a demo environment and show you kind of what Secure Score is and how easy it is to kind of drill down in and see what you need to be doing from a
Oh,
security
perfect.
perspective.
Okay, good deal. So you're going to take over the screen here.
Yep. All right. So what we're looking at here is the secure score from within the Microsoft Defender console. And you can see it's got it broken down in a couple different ways for us to be able to look at an overall score. And you can see here it's trending. Are we getting better? Are we getting worse? It breaks it down by domain. So identity, data, apps. This is a demo environment, so devices is missing on here. We don't have any devices plugged into it, but you're able to see where's my score the lowest, what should I be looking at here, where can I improve. It tells you how many actions you have to review, which ones have gotten worse, which ones you need to do something about. And of course, if this is an active tenant, you're going to have things that have been done, improvements that have been made. And then you can see over here from a comparison standpoint what our score is versus organizations of a similar size. So you can see, is my environment kind of the low-hanging fruit? Am I the one that's most likely to be attacked because I've got the vulnerabilities that are out there? And then you can come down and actually get actionable recommendations, and it'll rank them by score impact, how much it'll improve your score. And then you can drill into these, and it gives you the details on the recommendation, how you implement, and it gives you the step-by-step, and it gives you history, as to your change on this over time. And you can actually go in then and edit your action plan. You can assign it to people, you can put notes on it. So you can actually work as a team inside of here to improve that score over time.
So this is pretty neat. This isn't really, I mean, from what I'm seeing here, this isn't just a dashboard. It actually gives us a roadmap. I'm looking at what you have here right now with recommended actions.
Yep. Yeah. And you can see, I mean, it looks across a lot of stuff. We're looking at SharePoint, Exchange. It's going across the entire environment. And the nice part is the more you're using Defender, the more you're using Entra ID as a single sign-on platform, the more third-party pieces you're plugging into this, they're benefiting from this improvement, right? If you're
Okay,
using,
so stop there a second. You mentioned Entra ID, but you also mentioned other products. So this doesn't replace all my security products that my IT department has invested in already. This is kind of sitting on top of them, aggregating all that information and kind of reporting and giving us recommendations.
correct. Yep. Yeah. You can go in there, and if it's giving you a recommendation, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm using product XYZ for that, you can note that, you can put it in, it'll take that as part of your score. And if you've got third-party platforms that you're using that you log into, you can tie them into your Microsoft stack for that login. And then the security that you're implementing here impacts those third-party platforms from an identity perspective. So you can start to take this and not just look at the Microsoft stack, but look at your environment more holistically.
Interesting. You mentioned Entra ID. For a non-technical person, what is that?
That's it's the new name for Azure Active Directory, but it's the identity platform that's in the Microsoft 365 stack.
Okay, so if I'm a business owner and I'm running Microsoft 365, does all this come with it?
Depends on the license that you have, but anything that's at Microsoft 365 Business Premium or better has all this built in.
Okay. And then, so then how do I need to tie it into like all these other security products that I have?
So there's a bunch of different ways you can do that, and it depends on which piece you're tying in. I keep going back to identity because that's one of one of the first things you end up tying in to Microsoft is the identity piece. But you simply point those other applications at Microsoft for the login, the authentication and authorization piece, so that you use a single login to get into your workstation, to get into Microsoft 365, and to get into those other platforms. So it gives you a user benefit, right? Single sign-on is making it easier for users, but at the same time on the back end, you're able then to apply that security across the environment. If you're using other platforms for other security pieces, you're able to, it depends on what you're using, but pieces of that can report back in. And you can tie this to your SIM tool, right? So this can talk to your SIM tool as well as those other pieces. So really, we're getting a little bit into the weeds here, but there's, depending on what you need to tie in, Microsoft has a very open architecture here that we can tie this into other pieces pretty easily.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. So shift over to the business a second. I mean, come back to it. I'm a CEO, I'm a business owner. Why should I care about Secure Score? I get the technical aspects of it. I've got people or partners that can help me kind of implement this and manage it. But why should I care as a business person? That may seem obvious, but let's drill down.
So, yeah, in today's world, there's a couple reasons. One's insurability, right? If you're following your Secure Score recommendations, chances are your cyber insurance security company is they're happy with you, right? You're meeting up to their policy standards, so you're a lower, might get better rates. If you get breached, your claim's probably not going to get denied because you've implemented, the security that needs to be there. From a risk perspective, business interruption, business downtime has a massive financial impact. If you're, working to get your secure score as high as possible, the chances of a cyber attack impacting, your business, so that's, uh, real quantifiable dollars for companies.
I saw in the dashboard before, it looked like you could kind of go back and historically look at where you've been, what you've put in place, where you are now. So if I'm kind of auditing, you mentioned cybersecurity, and I deal with our insurance brokers all the time. I can kind of give them an audit of, where snapshot of where we were 6 months or a year ago, what we've put in place, and where we are now as a result of our score because of the things we've done. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, yeah, it does. It gives you a history in there, so you can see, are you trending up? Are you trending down? That score actually updates every day, right? So this is kind of real time, live data because the recommendations are always changing. Your environment is never static, so this keeps up to date with that on a day-to-day basis. But over time, you should be seeing a line that's trending up, and you can see based off of how many recommendations there are, what your score is across the different attack surfaces. Are you putting in place what you need to be putting in place for due diligence?
Interesting. Okay. Can you give me an example? Like, give me a real world example of a client of ours, how they're using Secure Score to kind of help their business and some of the things.
Sure. We've got a client in the fintech industry that leverages this pretty heavily. It's monitored quarter over quarter based off of what the recommendations are. They do quarterly like security sprints. to implement, the next round of recommendations to keep that score as high as possible. It's giving them, of course, the insurance benefits. It gives them the ability to pretty easily complete a SOX audit at the end of the year. So they have that SOC audit. Being in fintech, right? That's a nice audit to be able to show to their clients and customers, saying, "Hey, look, we're doing our best practices here." But then they're able to leverage their security posture as part of their branding. When
Hmm.
they're going to market, they're able to say, "Hey, look, we're ahead of the curve here. We're doing the stuff you're hearing about in order to make sure that our systems and the data that we have of yours is safe going forward."
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's not just being used by IT to improve their posture, but they're actually getting advantages out of it by reporting out to good. Yeah, in their case, it's their clients. It could be shareholders. It could be their board, their advisors. Sounds like it's a good tool for auditing and reporting, not just kind of driving compliance within IT.
Yeah, yeah. We actually present their score and their recommendations to their steering committee on a quarterly basis.
Interesting. Okay. Shift gears a little bit. What do you hear a lot of times from our clients or prospects? Their I don't know what to say misconceptions of this, in the industry.
Yeah, the most common one I get is, we're too small. Like nobody's looking at us, right? We're security by obscurity, and that's simply not the case. A lot of people think all the focus is on the financial or the healthcare industries, but manufacturing is actually one of the top targets. Over 26% of all the attacks go against the manufacturing industry. Um, so there's no safe industry, there's no safe size of company to say, okay, they're not targeting me. Um, they're using AI-based tools that they're able to go out and attack thousands of companies per day, right? So basically, if you exist, if you've got a domain name, somebody's knocking on your door on a day-to-day basis.
Hmm. Most middle market companies don't have large IT departments. So how do you get around this? I mean, what's the lift here to bring this in and to use it as a monitoring tool?
So as a monitoring tool, I mean, it's there. How much you get out of it is really going to depend on, again, how much you plugged in, how much you're leveraging that Microsoft stack, so how much visibility that tool gets to your environment. Um, and then like I said, the score's updating on a daily basis. So you need to have somebody that maybe not daily, but from a secure score perspective, at least on a monthly or quarterly basis, is going in and saying, how are we trending? What do we need to do? Where do we need to focus? And then depending on what those recommendations are, that's going to, go back to what size team do you have to be able to implement and then manage that security recommendation when you put it in.
Okay. And I'm assuming, I mean, look at our business. I mean, we're a managed services provider for, hundreds of our clients here. Talk a little bit about how we use this to help educate the client and to help do our job as their managed services provider.
Sure. Yeah. So, like I mentioned, with the one client, we work with a lot of our clients around what does their overall security posture look like. The secure score is a big part of that for our clients that have a focus on the M365 environment. And so we're using those recommendations. We're using that roadmap with them to help them identify kind of what should we be looking at, what should they be working on from a security perspective, and then for the clients that it makes sense for, that don't have that big internal security team, they can lean on us to do a lot of that implementation and then that day-to-day management of those recommendations.
Yeah, I saw earlier when you were sharing the portal that when you get down into specific actions that can be taken, you can assign them to certain people and kind of
Yeah,
track the outcome and the status of them.
yeah, correct. So we're able to go in there and say, okay, this one gets assigned to like internal IT person X, right? And they need to get that implemented, but maybe some of the other ones get assigned to Weidenhammer to say, okay, over the next month, we're going to get this in place, we're going to get it tested, and then deploy out to the environment. And you're able to go in then and kind of see, am I on track? Am I getting my security initiatives completed?
Great. Do you find that a lot of clients that we're talking to are using this already, or do you find that even though they may be using Microsoft 365, they're not aware of this capability?
Um, I don't know if they're not aware of it, but most people aren't really focused on it until we really bring their attention to it and show them, the amount of impact that it can really have. If you've got an IT team that's really focused on the operation side of things and just keeping the lights on and making sure everybody's emails flowing, most of the time they're not spending a whole lot of time in Secure Score and looking through those pieces. So, it kind of gets lost in the mix.
Got it. Got it. So stay with that a second. So how do businesses get started? I mean, what do you advise them when you go into an organization that may not be using this? What's the rollout of this look like?
It normally starts with an assessment, right? So work with a security partner, come in, take a look at that secure score, follow those recommendations, and put together a roadmap, an attack plan based off of what it's lighting up. And then depending on if you haven't really been leveraging that Microsoft stack, if that assessment might have some tentacles that go out into other systems that aren't talking to the Microsoft stack. So that we can follow out those recommendations. But that's where it would start, so that you can really kind of get a bird's eye view of what does my security posture look like and where do I need to focus. And then from there it's a roadmap. Going to look for the low hanging fruit. Where do I get the most security improvement with the least effort and least user impact, and then work down from there.
Yeah, got it. This may be a long, I may be setting you up for a long answer here. That's not my intention, but what does this not cover, right? I'm a business owner. I'm looking at Secure Score. You've done a nice job of painting this out. I'm interested in taking the next step, but what does it not do for me that I still need to pay attention to as it relates to security?
That that is a loaded question, and it's really going to kind of depend on what you are using and not using in the Microsoft stack as to how much Secure Score does not cover. So, for example, Secure Score is going to be focused on what does your attack surface look like on your workstations, right? Are you keeping them patched? Is your third-party applications patched? Is the drive encrypted? Things like that. But if you're not leveraging Intune to handle a lot of those pieces, it's not going to be able to tell what you're doing for that, right? So it's the dark spots depend on how much you're leveraging that Microsoft stack, because this is a Microsoft secure score, right? But then beyond, if say you're leveraging the full Microsoft stack, what does it not cover? It's not going to cover physical security, of course. It's not going to cover maybe some on-prem stuff if you don't have some of your on-premise environment plugged into the Microsoft stack. So, but in general, from a security posture piece, everything outside of maybe your firewall and switching gets lumped into this if you fully adopted the Microsoft ecosystem.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I constantly feel as an executive that we're getting requests for the next technology product, right? And the frustration I get into all the time is, am I covered enough? Am I not covered enough? Right. So every time there's a requisition to go spend more money on another security product, it would be nice to have something like this where I can look at it and say, okay, what's the current state of this threat landscape? Where do I have exposure? Where do I not have exposure? Are there obvious things that we shouldn't be doing? And how do I track that over time? How do we, have a roadmap that allows us to keep working on this and getting better and better? Certainly never a guarantee. That's, what we had said at the beginning of this. It's not going to prevent a breach, right? But it sounds like it really does help me kind of have an understanding of where we are at a given point in time and how we offset risk and how we harden that threat landscape.
Yeah, it really is a hidden gem of a tool that they slipped in there for free. Right? It gives you a really good look across that threat landscape and boils it down to a consumable number, like a single number or a number per threat, domain, but it makes it very consumable. And then, like you saw, it gives you a nice roadmap to remediate the recommendations.
Got it. You said something that I always zero in on right away, and that was free. Is this truly free, or kind of going back to the question before? It depends how you're licensed within your Microsoft tenant.
Yeah, there's not a specific license. There's not a monthly fee for Secure Score. It's built into the bundles. So, for business premium and up, like on the lower end, the business basics and stuff like that, you can see some level of a secure score in there, but it's very, very limited because those lower license tiers don't have enough feature and function in them to really see across your landscape. So this really kicks in at that business premium level and above.
Great. Good deal. Don, what am I not asking? Final thoughts or questions I'm not thinking about?
I don't have one off the
Again,
top
a
of my head.
loaded question.
Yeah. We've already hit next steps. Kind of how do you get started? And really that's the key, right? Doing something, getting started, taking a step is really kind of critical. Security is not a setting, it's not a checkbox, it's an activity. So if you're not actively doing something, you're sliding backwards from a security perspective.
And I know you spend a lot of time kind of talking and educating and helping our clients get to that point, based on what stage they are when we start to engage with them. So I can certainly appreciate that. Don, thanks. I appreciate you joining us, and great kind of conversation to get some curiosity going around this Microsoft Secure Score. Again, if no final thoughts, I'll just say for everybody out there who's listening to this, thanks for joining us. Clearly, if you're a business leader and you're watching this, go ask your IT team what your Microsoft Secure Score is. If you don't know, I guess now's the time to find out, right? Until the next segment, thank you very much for joining. I'm Chuck Swicker, and appreciate tuning in for another vidcast here of Why Should Executives Care. Until next time.
Well, thanks, everybody.